My name is Kim Addis, and you have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching Podcast, where we invite really interesting people onto the show and have wonderful conversations. Today, my guest is a very interesting person that I came across kind of accidentally, but her name is Polina Solda. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Perfect. And she comes to us from New York. Is that right?
Correct.
And
right there.
right there. And she runs a company called Love by Design, and she is a professional coach that helps women find their perfect mate. Polina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kim, for having me. It's such a joy and pleasure to be here.
So, I think what you do is super interesting. And if we were to take the audience back, you reached out to me to see if I was a single woman looking for a man. I am not. And for anybody who knows me, I'm really not single. I have a husband that I work with. We spend every waking moment together. Even if we're in different rooms, we spend a lot of time together. We're very, very tightly connected. But I do know a lot of single women. I have a lot of friends who are single. And so I was very, very curious about your work. So how did you get into this field? Like, what brought you here?
It's personal experience, personal story. Of course, when I moved to New York City after my divorce in my early 30s, I experienced my own version of Sex in the City.
Okay.
I started dating again, and because my first husband and I pretty much spent our entire 20s together, I didn't have a dating experience. So I don't count the college uh, during that time. So it was really all brand new. I've never done online dating in this big new city. So I am very well aware of the challenges of that emotional roller coaster that single women go through, all the ups and downs, especially given the challenges that on one hand, we have instant access to pretty much anyone on the planet, ability to communicate and meet anyone. We have infinite options. That also presents a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And being able to get to the other side where you are and your whole life changes when you meet the right person for you, and now you do projects together and you spend so much time together, and it also frees a lot of your time to do other things, like you run your business, you help other people, you make impact. So then all of that became possible for me, and I figured out exactly, I believe relationships is an algorithm. There's really a formula that you can follow. There's a really specific process, especially when we're talking about the relationship. You and I share it in common. I believe we have a similarity that it's going to be 14 years that you've been same, and even like to the month, right? We talked about May, and that's exactly our story. And so I made it my my life's mission. I actually left my job at the United Nations to start my coaching business, and 13 years ago, and I never looked back.
Okay, so you said that you went through your own Sex in the City experience. What were some of the challenges you encountered when you were dating? I remember I got divorced. I was married for 15 years. I got divorced. I got married so young. I was in my mid-30s, and suddenly I'm in the dating world. And honestly, I never dated anyone a day in my life, right?
We have another similarity here.
Because I got
young.
I got married so young. I got married when I was 20, and so now I was single, and I was a mom too, so single mom, and I'm out there on the dating field. And yes, we used online dating even back then, but it was, for me, it was I felt like I was deposited onto Mars. Like I really didn't know my bearings. I didn't know the rules of the game. I was hopeful, and then I met people that were so not for me. But what was your experience?
Exactly similar experience. And I am currently reading this book called Paradox of Choice. And it's all about how having too many choices is a problem.
Interesting.
And what I've experienced is It was very different from what I've done before. When I also met my husband, we were both 21. Uh, there were just not so many options. There was just the people you know, or it seemed to be easier. And I totally get how women get overwhelmed because there's so many options, even starting with the dating apps
Yeah.
and seemingly endless possibilities. And a lot of people keep looking out of that FOMO, fear of missing out, that there's something better. So they really, first of all, they might not even know exactly who they're looking for. That's a challenge. Or they think they found the right person, but then it turns out it's not the right person. And I spent almost a decade looking for a solution as a dating coach. I was wondering if I could get every woman, if there is one system, one process that any woman at any age would be able to find the right person for her, that I became obsessed with that. And what I found and what I use in my process with my clients is personality typing, because it is something that any woman can learn and then use it to determine the most compatible partner for her. And when it comes to long-term relationship, what really matters after that initial attraction, after all that fun and all that chemistry, what really matters, are we right people for each other? Are we compatible? Can we be ourselves 100% all the time and accept and love and appreciate each other exactly as we are? And compatibility is the key to that when you are different yet complementary.
Right. So tell me about the personality approach. Like, well, give me an example. What do you mean?
Sure. So the personality typing system that I use is called Enyo style. It was invented in Russia a few decades ago. It's widely used in all sectors,
Yeah. Is
including
that like the
government.
Enneagram? Is that the same
This
concept?
is it's just like there are other systems, like there's Myers-Briggs for
Yeah. Yeah.
career assessment.
Yeah.
There is Enneagram. There's human design. What Enyo style is the most effective system
Okay.
to use when it comes to
Ennio
finding
style.
the right person for you. And the reason for that is because you don't need to do any complicated tests.
Okay.
You don't need to rely on somebody else to
Mm-hmm.
do a report for you or analysis, or you don't need to ask a man to take a test. You use specific criteria. So this is based on the 4 psychological types that Carl Jung, the student of
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud, came up with over 100 years ago. So we all know about their logical types, intuitive types, emotional types, and sensory types.
So say them again. Logical, intuitive.
Logical, intuitive. So logical are very systematic people,
Yeah.
very consistent, scheduled, very reliable. Intuitive, very creative. So logical, think about somebody who is like very conservative, traditional system. Think about Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, system numbers. Somebody who is very intuitive, very creative, generator of ideas. Think about Elon Musk, so that's that type, or Mark Zuckerberg, so creating something new, or Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Emotional, people who live to feel and connect, and all about people. Think about Oprah Winfrey. And the last one is all about next level impact, ambition, being the number one. Think about.
So what is it called? Impact?
Oh, that is sensory type.
Sensory.
Well, in Enyo style, actually, it's even easier. So the fourth one is think about example of Arnold Schwarzenegger or Madonna, like very powerful. And when in Enyo style, they called like 4 cardinal points: north, east, south, and west, which I think is brilliant because it's easy to remember. And if you think about north, they're kind of logical, very structured. East is all about intuition and wisdom. South, it's all about pleasure, fun, relationships, and comfort and food and all the good times. And west is all about growth, progression, next level ambition and power.
Interesting. And you think people lean in one direction?
So what happens is that each of us is born with a combination of all this. So
Mhm.
their chances
Yeah.
are, but some people notice there will be this dominant, we call them
Yeah.
functions, any of these types will be the most dominant, and typically the first two. And what's so important is that, so nobody is just very, very logical and very, very emotional at the same time.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah.
Or very, very driven to like, I have to be the number one. And I'm also this very, very intuitive, spiritual person. It's
Right.
different,
Yeah.
complementary.
Yeah.
So what's important is to know exactly who you are so you can choose a partner who is compatible. So when you are in a relationship, all of his energies, all of his types come together and you really, as a couple, become one. You're really complete.
Okay. So
And it
when
just
when
works.
when you coach someone, how do you establish what their type is? Do
So
you
they
can just
actually
tell?
learn. Right. So my
Okay.
whole approach, I use two very powerful tools. One is for self-coaching, so managing your mind, which is one of the steps
Yeah.
in my very simple 5-step process. But the second, that's becoming self-sufficient, really managing your mind, your thoughts. The second part of it is learning the system. So all of my clients they go through this system, they learn it once, they start using it. It happens automatically. I
Yeah.
see a person, I start a conversation with anyone, I type them immediately. I know exactly what
Really.
they type, and that enables us to know
So what's
exactly.
my type?
So for you, I would ask you one question just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
And the specific questions. So in one word, what is life about? Is it about safety? Is it about ideas or freedom? Is it about relationships? Or is it about impact?
I was going to say experience. Um, I would say, sorry. So not safety. It is about relationships. What's the next one?
Power or ideas?
I would say ideas and relationships.
Yes. So east and south. When it comes to, if you are that, and you would discover. So again, I want my clients to be empowered and self-sufficient. I want them to
Mhm.
master the system so I can type any
Right.
man just looking
Okay.
by his profile or talking on the first date with him and ask him a few questions, but they discover their own. So ideally you would
I
discover
see.
your own. So, and you're not just one, exactly, you too. So when it comes to relationships, your mission in life, you're going to have family, you're going to build your business around working with other people, communicating, helping other people.
Yeah.
How you're going to achieve that is you're going to come up with an idea
Right.
that you can monetize.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you fully align with your mission. When it comes to relationship, there could be areas, for example, um, planning something or organizing, or even in your own team, you would want to have someone who
Yes.
does that.
Definitely. That's my husband.
That
Okay.
is
So
your
I have a
husband.
question
Perfect.
for you.
You're dual for relationship. You're in the
I have a question for
ideal
you.
relationship.
Yeah, I have a question for you. When we spoke last time, you said something that really, really like interested me. And you said something like women who are high achievers, very driven, dominant women are often looking for the same kind of energy. A man who is also highly driven, powerful, go-getting, and usually those relationships don't work out together.
Yeah. So what happens is we're talking about a West type or that sensory type. I am a West type.
Yeah,
West type is very driven.
yeah,
And if you think about men who represent, and also women, so think very strong, powerful women, like Sharon Stone, for example, she's West. She plays very powerful roles. Think about Basic Instinct.
yeah,
There's a lot of power, there's a lot of charisma, sexuality. That's who she naturally is.
yeah.
Madonna, she uses her power, and it's very sexual type too. A very powerful type. When it comes to men, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Vin Diesel, uh, Sylvester Stallone, Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
That impact and achieving and next level. Michael Jordan, right? So this is a very strong man. So what happens when you are the same type? Subconsciously, we're looking for a partner who is different yet complementary,
Mhm.
right? And what happened in my experience when I was dating and I met somebody who was just like me, Was very ambitious, very driven. And I remember we went on this, and I highly recommend all of my clients. I do this, what I call total immersion. You want to do it pretty within the first month. You go away somewhere, let's say for a day, or we went for a weekend to the Hamptons. And it was a constant struggle about everything, what we were going to do, when we were going to do it. We're both leaders. We want to make the decisions. And it just was a constant power struggle and confrontation. And the only way it could work is then if I would shift into that energy of easygoing, which is very easy, very much like I'm in the flow, whatever you want to do, but it wasn't me. And so what happens when I met my husband, who is an East, so he's my dual partner. It's called most complementary dual part, but duality, that energy. He is very highly successful. It's important for me. He is a superstar lawyer. When it comes to a relationship and personal life, he's very easygoing. He's a lot of fun. I can just say, hey, we're going to this restaurant tonight. And he's so easygoing. And he's like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And he doesn't have to make a decision. And he's like, awesome. And I was like, I already made the reservation. And it works for us. And from the beginning, so I can be totally myself. I actually remember how we even started when the first time we met and he mentioned, oh, I have a boat. And then I just felt like texting. I just sent a message. He said, what a beautiful day for boating. I just literally initiated the text. And he called me within a few minutes and he's like, do you want to go boating this afternoon? He actually canceled his school. he took me out boating because he was really attracted, and attraction happens, right? There isn't anything you have
let
to
me
do.
ask you a question. Let me ask you an honest question. So you're this highly driven, powerful, type, and you're with someone who doesn't have that same drive.
In terms of career or what?
Just everything. Career.
They're not as tense. They're not as driven. They're not as
So doesn't that affect your impression or opinion of them?
No, because when it comes to personal relationships, so for me, it's important that a person, so who I'm with, they follow their path of mastery. He's very good at what he does. But when it comes to personal life, he's fully expressing who he is. He's fun. He's the best dad. He plans vacations for us, all the fun adventures. If I didn't have him in my life, I would just work a lot.
You wouldn't have a lot of fun.
I would find myself with a laptop on weekends. And that balance. So of course not, because it's really important to understand that you don't need a clone of yourself. You already have yourself. What really matters when it comes to that dual relationship where the math is really 1 + 1 = 11. If you put two single digits next to each other, it's really 11. The exponential effect, it's got to be somebody who's different and complementary to you. So yeah, it was the biggest mistake actually. And I see a lot of women cannot find, or they keep looking for somebody who's just like them. What happens when you find somebody who's just like you, these other qualities and energies will be missing. And somebody has to you can make it work, but then somebody has to compensate for the lack of it. And then that is how you have two people who say, why don't you do this?
So is that what keeps women single, or is there another factor?
There is really, it comes down to the first thing. The first step is think differently. So how you think. So our thoughts, because how we think determines how we feel. How
I'm with you on that.
Determines what actions you take or don't take, and your actions determine your results. So your thoughts will always equal your results. So when you manage your mind, right? So that is the number one reason, is that there are a lot of thoughts our brain offers us all day long that are not even true. And if I believe that, like, there are no men out there, I cannot meet anyone, I'm not attracting quality men, dating is hard, online dating doesn't work, all these thoughts, I call them thought arrows. They're thoughts that are getting in the way, they're unhelpful, they're not serving.
I agree.
And then just not choosing It could be not even realizing that the kind of man dating the same type of men, because again, our brain looks for
Yeah.
what's familiar
Yeah.
and just looking for the same, and going for the same cycle. And completely, you can be totally overlooking those men who are most compatible, not even on your radar, like that thought, oh, I need somebody who is just as ambitious.
Yeah. So you
No, what?
discount a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah, you discount a lot of people.
And you don't give them a chance.
And what if you really need is not somebody who is really, really ambitious, but somebody who is so much fun that he can just balance out that all of that drive and ambition.
Yeah.
That can be very extreme, where it's all just like work, work, work.
Yeah.
To balanced life where you're also having fun.
So interesting. Now you wanted to offer the audience something, a free gift, something.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Right. So I like to keep everything very simple. So the 5-step process that I use, where is just think different, type man, meet man. You got to meet them, go on dates with them, and then choose the right person. That is the whole process. And when it comes to meeting men and going on dates, I have only one tool that I use. So all of my clients use it. I'm giving it as my free gift. It's called Love by Design Pyramid. Okay. And what it is, it's a guide that shows that even right now, you might have 0 dates, no man pursuing you, or it's all the kinds of men that just not right for you.
Yeah.
It shows you exactly what to do in a few simple steps to get to a relationship with the right person for you.
Okay. So how do they find this?
So can we provide the link?
Yes, please. Please provide the link, but give us your website right now.
Right. So the website is polinasolda.com. So it's POLINASOLDA.com.
Let's slow that down. Oh, POLINASOLDA.com.
Yes.
You said it very fast.
And I also have a podcast called Find the Right Man.
Find the Right Man. Okay. Okay. So wonderful. We will provide the link in the show notes, and anybody who wants access to this pyramid, please make yourself at home and take advantage of this offer. I really, really enjoyed this. I have one last question, and I think very important question. So everything you talked about applies to helping a woman find a man. What about a man finding a woman? Do the same principles apply?
Yes, I don't work with men. I specialize with what I know because I understand. I'm a woman.
But does it apply?
I think managing your mind, definitely, it's human brain, applies for any gender, any orientation, any culture, any language, because it's a human brain. So absolutely. Personality typing works absolutely for both men and women, and also any orientation, because we're talking about complementary energies, we're talking about qualities. So it could be for any relationship. And when it comes to getting into a relationship, you got to be meeting people, going on dates with them, so you can choose the right person. So it totally applies for everyone.
Hey, maybe you should open up your market to men too, but I won't tell you what to do with your business. I just think that some men struggle with meeting women as well. In any case, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. It's really interesting to hear the whole idea about personality typing and how, we need to find a complement for ourselves in order to live in a relationship that is comfortable and where we have, that sense of compatibility. And so thank you so much for being on the show. We will add this show notes. Again, it's Polina Solda, and she is the owner of the company called Love by Design, if you want to look her up. Thank you so much, Polina. We'll see you again soon. Okay, take care.
Thank you so much.